It is Compass FM. Simon Templeton from Age Concerned Canterbury. It's been a busy year for you.
It really has, yes. I mean, it's been a busy year for all of us, I guess, but that huge curveball of COVID meant, a lot of changes, a lot of stress, I guess, for older people with the messaging that was out there, and I suppose the risk that specifically COVID played for them. So, yeah, it's been a very, very challenging year, really one out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes to do some things well, you've got to do some things, and I think we've all learned a lesson from 2020. It's coming up to a pretty busy time, and we're talking about pre-Christmas and the various other bits and pieces as well. But let's talk about elderly driving just very, very quickly, because it can be quite intimidating out on the roads, can't it?
It really can, and I guess for those older people specifically who have lost a bit of confidence or who maybe haven't driven for a while, and of course COVID was a period of time where none of us were driving around, so if it's not something you're doing all of the time, you can lose a bit of confidence. And certainly we'd suggest, around Christmas particularly, I mean, traffic is crazy at the best of times, but it's absolute madness at around Christmas. And so, older people who haven't got the confidence might want to, avoid those peak times where traffic's going to be bad, just to give them a bit more time and space.
Absolutely. If you've got 10 seconds to make a decision, so much better than one.
Absolutely.
1 second. And of course, getting around Christmas time, the social connection and or lack of social connection can actually be quite a hurdle to overcome for those in the age sector of Canterbury.
Yeah, it can. We know older people struggle a lot from loneliness, so 21% is the statistic. And so what we find at Christmas time is that's really compounded, and people really feel that a whole lot more perhaps than at other times of the year. So it's a time that perhaps where it's all about family and it's all a rosy, cheery time, and that's how it's sold to us, and that's how it is for most of us. But for people who perhaps have had that previously in their life, they've had the families, they've had the children, it's been a wonderful time, and now they don't. Perhaps their children aren't living locally, perhaps they have lost their partner, and so they're kind of sitting at home alone, really feeling that loneliness over Christmas. So it's a time where I think, whilst we're all having fun, and it is a great time of year, that we need to kind of stop and think and remember, I guess, the older people in our lives and the older people around us. So that might be neighbours, that might be someone down the road, and it might just be the time to ask them what they're doing for Christmas, start up that conversation and spark that get-together.
Yeah, just you wander next door, say something over the fence. Hey,
absolutely.
How are you getting on? Everything all right? So coming into Christmas time, summertime in New Zealand, summertime in North Canterbury, today we're looking at a high of 28 degrees. Heat and the elderly.
It's a scorcher out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be really warm. They say a high 28. I don't think we're going to hit 30, somewhere along the line. So that's actually something that can be a big concern for the elderly in our community too.
Yeah, it really can. So overheating and heat during summer can be a real issue. Perhaps for you and I, we might get a bit dehydrated, and that might not cause us too many issues, but for older people who have far less reserves than you and I, and I'm kind of talking frail older people here, as opposed to, most of the over 65 population are fine, but those frail older people, they can really have some really negative consequences and outcomes from overheating, and one of the key things they can do around that is to keep hydrated, keep out of the sun. So, if you're going to do your gardening and do a bit of pottering, do it early morning or late evening. So, keep out of the sun, keep the heat pump on cool if you need to.
So that would actually be a really good idea. Instead of driving around commuting in the morning, do your gardening then early in the morning, and then when you finish the gardening, then do your driving.
Perfect mix.
Well, there you go. We've come up with something here.
You have.
Age Concerned Canterbury, you have a few people out in the field looking after everyone?
Yeah, we've got 24 paid staff, and well over 500 volunteers. So we're very much a volunteer-run organisation, and couldn't do really any of the work that we do without all of our wonderful volunteers, and there are many of them out here in North Canterbury, and so special shout out to them and a Merry Christmas to them. We love what you do, the work you do for us as an organisation and for older people in North Canterbury is amazing, and we know it has amazing, brilliant consequences and outcomes for older people.
Absolutely. If someone needs to get in contact with you, what's the best way of doing it? We all can be contactable, but what's the best way of getting in contact with Age Concerned Canterbury?
Probably the best way is the old-fashioned telephone, 366 0903. would be our number, and that is staffed Monday to Friday, 9 to 4:30, and you'll always get someone on the end of the phone, and that's something we hear a lot from people who phone us, that they really love the fact that they actually always get to speak to someone, as opposed to so many other businesses which are automated messages, or just leave a message and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and let's face it, sometimes technology for those that are, shall we say, the more mature end of the elderly scale, sometimes do struggle with technology. It's always nice if you've got some grandkids or kids, you usually talk their way through it. 366 0903.
That's me.
That's the way, and it is nice to actually speak to someone at the end of the phone. Simon Templeton from Major Concern Canterbury, it's been a great pleasure to keep in contact with you during the year, and would really like to keep in contact as we get out of 2021, moving into 2020, moving into 2021, and keep up the relationship that you and I have as far as organisations are concerned. I appreciate you taking the time to come into Compass FM.
Always a pleasure, Kerry.
Brilliant stuff. And Merry Christmas to you and your organisation. Wonderful. Compass FM.